I never thought a toy could hold a grudge, but then again, I never thought a toy could watch you, breathe with you and wait. My childhood Teddy, a small brown bear with button eyes and a crooked smile, was more than just stuffed fabric. It was the silent witness to my growing up, my first nightmares, and the small tragedies no one else noticed. My parents said I imagined things, that I had an overactive imagination, but I knew the truth. I found Teddy when I was 5 at a yard sale, a dusty box, and an old woman with a crooked smile who said, "He chooses you, not the other way around." I thought it was cute, something old and soft I could hug at night. My parents didn't think much of it, but they warned me as if in jest, "Don't let him get too comfortable." The first night I slept with Teddy, I had a nightmare unlike anything else. Shadows crawled along my bedroom walls, whispers in the dark, and a coldness pressed against my chest. When I woke, Teddy was sitting upright in the middle of my bed. I hadn't put him there. The nightmares continued, sporadic at first, then nightly. I would wake to find Teddy in strange positions, on the floor, on my dresser, sometimes at the foot of my bed staring. My parents dismissed it. "It's just your imagination," they said. But then came the bruises. Small, blue-purple marks on my arms, my neck. I blamed myself. I was a clumsy kid. By the time I was 12, Teddy was no longer just a toy. He was an obsession. I couldn't leave him behind, even at school. I carried him everywhere, sometimes in my backpack, sometimes hidden under my coat. My friends stopped inviting me to sleepovers. "You're weird," they whispered, and I didn't argue because I knew the truth. Teddy was alive in ways no one could understand. The real terror began on my 13th birthday. My parents threw a small party with balloons, cake, and laughter. But when I blew out the candles, I saw Teddy sitting on the kitchen counter, his button eyes gleaming, his stitched mouth twisted slightly like he was smiling, not the smile he always had, but something darker, something hungry. I tried to sleep that night, but I couldn't. Every sound in the house was amplified. The creak of the floorboards, the drip of the faucet, the whisper of the wind outside. And then I heard it, a soft, low growl from under my bed. "Teddy," I whispered. No response. The growl became a voice. "Don't leave me." I froze. My chest felt heavy. The voice wasn't in my head. It was around me, echoing, coming from the shadows. I grabbed the bear, pressed him to my chest, and whispered, "It's just a dream, it's just a dream." It wasn't a dream. Over the next few months, Teddy's influence grew. Doors slammed shut when I wasn't touching them. Mirrors reflected him in places he shouldn't be. At school, classmates whispered, their eyes darting to my backpack, even when Teddy wasn't visible. I became withdrawn, afraid to sleep, afraid to blink. By 16, I understood one terrible truth. Teddy wasn't a toy. He was something else. Something old, patient, and malevolent. He had been waiting for me, watching me, marking me, and he demanded loyalty. I tried to leave him behind. I threw him into the woods behind my house, into the river, even buried him in the garden. Each time, he returned. Sitting on my bed, eyes glinting, smile crooked. And then came the night of the fire. I woke to smoke. Flames consumed the living room. My parents screamed. I ran, pulling Teddy from the blaze, refusing to let him go. He was safe. I was safe. But when I turned to leave, I realized something horrifying. The fire hadn't touched him. Not a singe. He was perfect. Years passed. I moved to the city, trying to escape him, trying to bury the past. I grew up, went to college, dated, worked. But Teddy never left. Always in the corner of the apartment, always on the shelf, always watching. By the time I was 29, I knew what had to happen. If I wanted to be free, I had to face the darkness I carried with me since childhood. So I bought a plot of land in the countryside, dug a small grave, and placed Teddy inside, wrapped in my childhood blanket. I whispered, "Goodbye." But I should have said, "We'll see each other soon." That night, I went to sleep in my new home, thinking I was free. And then I felt it. Something cold against my feet. A familiar weight. Teddy had returned. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. The darkness of the room thickened, pressing down on me. I could barely make out the shape at the foot of my bed, but those button eyes glinted in the dim moonlight seeping through the curtains. My stomach churned. "Teddy!" I whispered, my voice trembling. My fingers reached out, but the bear didn't move like a toy. It rolled slightly, then sat upright, staring at me. The air grew colder, my breath misting in front of me. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then I noticed it, tiny scratches along the fabric, as if someone had dug their nails into it from the inside. And the smell, rot and iron, something decayed mixed with a faint scent of childhood cotton. I tried to throw it off the bed, but my hands met an invisible resistance, as if something was holding it in place. Then a voice, low and guttural, crawled into my mind. "You can't leave me. You never could." I stumbled backward, crashing into the dresser. Teddy remained upright, perfectly balanced, tilting his head like a predator studying prey. My apartment seemed to pulse around me, shadows stretching unnaturally, floorboards creaking even though no one had moved. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and returned to the bedroom. My hands shook as I raised it over the bear. "I'm not afraid of you," I said, though my voice was barely a whisper. Teddy didn't flinch. The air thickened, and the shadows around the room shifted. And then he moved, not rolling or tipping, but crawling, limbs stretching impossibly. His button eyes burned red for a second, then black again, and his stitched mouth twitched into a jagged smile. I swung the knife. The blade passed through him like smoke, and I fell to the floor. My vision blurred. Panic surged, hot and sharp. "It's just a hallucination, it's just a nightmare," I repeated, trying to convince myself. But Teddy's laughter, childlike yet sinister, filled the room, echoing off the walls, sticking to my skin. I ran to the front door, slammed it open, and bolted into the night. The streets were empty, silent, but I could hear footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate, crunching. I dared not look back. For weeks, I avoided my apartment. I stayed in motels, friends' houses, anywhere I could run. But the nightmares followed. I would wake in the dark to feel a small weight on my chest. I would hear whispers, "You can't leave me." Then came the day I realized Teddy wasn't just haunting me in dreams. He was everywhere I went. On the subway, in hotel lobbies, sometimes on the curb waiting. Always sitting perfectly upright, always smiling. People never noticed him, never acknowledged him, but I did. And I knew he was watching. I tried everything, burning him, crushing him, drowning him. Nothing worked. He always returned. Each time, stronger, more grotesque, more alive. Each time, the scratches along his fur grew deeper, more human-like. One night, I found myself back in the countryside, standing over his grave. The dirt had shifted. Tiny claw marks etched the edges of the plot. The blanket I'd buried him in had been pulled halfway out. I knelt, heart hammering, hands trembling, and whispered, "Teddy, I just want peace." The earth trembled beneath me. From the grave, his eyes glowed red, and I heard it. "No one buries me. Not even you." I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the night. I backed away, and the grave erupted. Mud flew, roots ripped, and Teddy emerged, towering, stitched in patches, limbs uneven and horrifyingly human-like. His smile stretched wider, impossibly wide, and he whispered, "We're together forever now." I tried to run, but the ground itself seemed to slow me down. He reached out, his small claws tearing at my clothes, my arms, my chest. The pain was real, sharp and burning. I fell to the ground, coughing blood, my vision blurring. Then everything went black. I woke up in a coffin. My chest pressed tightly against something soft yet unyielding. Panic surged. I could barely move. And then I felt it, Teddy, pressed against me, his small stitched face inches from mine. His button eyes were empty but alive, and that horrible crooked smile stretched impossibly. I screamed, pounding the wood, but no sound escaped. My mind raced, terror consuming me. I realized with a sickening clarity that I had been buried alive. And Teddy, my childhood companion, my curse, had been buried with me. The last thing I remember before the darkness swallowed me completely, his voice soft, chilling, intimate, whispering in my ear, "Now you're mine. Forever." And I understood. This wasn't death. This wasn't the end. This was only the beginning.